Make sure y'all listening.
This is scary. You ever heard about the prophecy of the popes? It's a 12th century prophecy hidden in the Vatican's archives. You know, the library that's said to contain the deepest secret of the world. It claims to list every pope from the year 1143 right up to, guess who? Pope Francis, our current pope. But here's the terrifying part. It just stops right there. No pope after him, only 2 words. Judgment Day. Yeah. It sounds dramatic, but it just started getting weird. Inside St. Paul's Basilica, there's a spot for every pope's portrait, circling the sanctuary. But the design leaves only one empty slot after Pope Francis. They say that when that final spot is filled, it's the end. Simple as that. Now here's where it twists. So, according to the prophecy, the time between the first pope listed and the midpoint pope in 1585 was 422 years. Now add another 422 years from there, and you land on 2027. Coincidence? Think again. And if that wasn't enough, Pope John the 23rd himself supposedly said the end would come exactly 2,000 years plus Christ's lifetime. Do the math. You get, 2027, that's 3 times. 3 predictions, all pointing to the same year. That's not just a random guess, that's a countdown, and it's ticking.
Most people don't know why does the Vatican City exist, but you probably know that Vatican City is the smallest country in the world. It covers only 100 acres, about 1/8 the size of Central Park in New York. What you might not know is that it used to be a much larger territory known as the Papal States. The Pope controlled this region for over 1,000 years until Italy annexed Rome, officially ending the Papal States' rule. However, the Pope refused to surrender to Italy, locking himself inside the Vatican and declaring himself a prisoner of the Italian state. This stalemate became known as the Roman Question. Italy didn't destroy the Vatican, fearing it would anger millions of Catholics worldwide. It wasn't until 1929, when Benito Mussolini signed a treaty with the Pope, that Vatican City was allowed to exist as its own sovereign nation, and the Vatican was given a donation of $1 billion. Interestingly, most Vatican citizens today live abroad. Do you know why?
So the giant pine cone statue at the Vatican has more meaning to it?
Aren't you curious why at the middle of the Vatican there's a pine cone instead of a statue of Jesus? I'm telling you, it's not just for some decoration. That pine cone is a big symbol. You can see it on the Pope's staff and in churches everywhere. But here's the strange part. The same symbol shows up in ancient Egypt and Samaria used by their gods. Osiris, the Egyptian god, carried a staff with a pine cone. The Sumerian gods had it too. And yet Christianity calls these ancient religions evil. They say it's devil worship. So why would the Vatican use the same symbol? Makes you think, right? Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The pine cone represents the pineal gland, what people call the third eye. It's a part of your brain that helps with dreams and deep thoughts. The word pineal even comes from the same root as pine cone, and both have the same spiral shape. Ancient people believed the pineal gland was the key to spiritual visions, a way to connect with something bigger than ourselves. And get this, the pineal gland makes DMT, a chemical that gives people wild dreams and mystical experiences. That's why some say it's the God gland, a bridge between the real world and something beyond. The Vatican didn't just pick that symbol for fun. The truth is hidden right there, in the Vatican, on the Pope's staff, and even in ancient art. But only those who know what to look for can really see it.
Whew, listen, in those 5 miles of underground Vatican archives.
Right, that's a lot.
There's been a few people that have come out talking who have had access to these Vatican archives. They can't say specifically everything they saw, but one guy did come on a documentary on the History Channel years ago and talked about the fact that they had bones of beings that weren't human. From their perspective, they weren't human bodies. They had books and texts down there that nobody's ever been able to read or access that talk about technology, flying devices, and all these other incredible things that were hidden during the Inquisitions, because during the Inquisitions, they were suppressing technology heavy because they wanted to keep their boot on the necks of the people. The Inquisitions were so brutal, they killed over 80 million people over the course of 700 years, ordered underneath the popes. That really held us back because we should have been on the moon in the 1800s if it wasn't for the Inquisitions. I went and did a walkabout in the Australian outback with Aboriginal elders, and their verbal handed down story for thousands of years is that they were seated on this planet. I then go and I visit with the Hopi and the Lakota tribe of the Americas. Their verbal handed down history is that they were seated on this planet by the Star Brothers. I'm like, wait a minute. Two different parts of the world, total opposite sides of the planet, and I'm getting the same exact story.
This is what the Vatican has been hiding underneath St. Peter's Basilica, and it's finally been exposed. We all know the story of Cain, the man who killed his brother Abel. As punishment, God cursed him with immortality and condemned him to wander the earth forever. But what if his punishment didn't end there? Legends say that centuries ago, Cain, known by his ancient name, was captured by the Vatican, not to save humanity, but to hide him. Beneath St. Peter's Basilica, deep within the Vatican's catacombs, they built a prison unlike any other. A place where Cain has been held for over 1,000 years. And why did the Vatican keep him alive? Some believe he holds ancient knowledge, secrets that could destroy the church itself. Secrets so dangerous that the Vatican fears what would happen if the public ever found out. But Cain wasn't afraid. He told them that if anything ever happened to him, he had already made sure that his secrets would be exposed to the world and bring an end to the Vatican Church.
People don't realize how much knowledge is actually kept secret in the Vatican archives. 85 kilometers of shelf space, 35,000 volumes of catalogs, logging over 1,200 years worth of records. By 2018, it claimed to hold the equivalent of 180 terabytes of data, said to mainly store documents relating to the Pope, internal accounts of the church, and other significant historic records. But up until 1881, no one but the Pope's inner circle was even allowed inside, so who knows what's really hidden down there. Even today, the secret archive is not accessible to the public, but only to certain scholars and under the most bizarrely specific conditions that you could imagine. First of all, any living pope needs to have been deceased for over 75 years before any documents collected during his time become available. Then, only academics who undergo a very thorough vetting process are allowed access, and also need to request special permission to anything they want to look at that can take months and may not always get granted. And even then, they wouldn't be able to just walk through and browse the archives to find what may be of interest. No, you need to specifically request the exact documents that you want to look at without ever stepping inside. Can you see how that might be an issue? 85 kilometers of shelf space. That's 2 marathons and would take the average person about 16 hours to fully walk through. Yet, they're required to request exactly the volumes they want to study from this monumental catalog without actually looking through it. And if we don't know certain volumes even exist, there's no way anyone can ask for it. Meaning, there is a lot of text down there that we will never know about. I'm not saying they're hiding secrets of, I don't know, Atlantis or the end of the world in these archives. Also not completely denying that they might be. But 35,000 volumes is an astronomical amount of information, and if they ever did want to keep something a secret, this would be the best place to hide it.
There are bones that aren't human, right there in the Vatican.
There are bones that are not human 5 miles underground in the Vatican archives. A few have had access, but most of them couldn't reveal what they saw until a man stepped up years ago. He spoke on a History Channel documentary where he claimed the Vatican holds bones that aren't human, texts no one has read, documents detailing lost technology, flying machines, and knowledge hidden for centuries. During the Inquisitions, it wasn't just people being silenced, it was progress. Over 80 million killed, 7 centuries of control. If not for that suppression, humanity could have reached the moon in the 1800s. Or faked the moon landing, whatever the case may be. I traveled to the Australian outback, spoke with Aboriginal elders. Their oral history? They weren't born here. They were placed here. Then I visited the Lakota tribe in America. Their story the same. 2 civilizations, worlds apart, yet they share the same origin. No contact, no shared records, yet the same truth. So what else is being hidden?
If you love history but hate dry facts, then buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey through one of the most fascinating places on Earth, the Vatican. This tiny city-state, nestled within Rome, is a treasure trove of secrets and mysteries that have intrigued curious minds for centuries. The Vatican's secret archives hold 12 centuries of documents, a collection so vast and rich that it could take a lifetime to explore. These archives are not just dusty old papers, they are living records of history. From popes' letters to ancient manuscripts, these documents offer a glimpse into the past like no other. Imagine holding a letter written by Michelangelo or a decree signed by Charlemagne. Only select researchers can peek inside. Access is highly restricted, granted only to those with a legitimate scholarly purpose. Each document is a piece of a larger puzzle, offering insights into the political, social, and religious dynamics of different eras. Then there's the Vatican Gardens, a lush, serene escape that offers a stark contrast to the bustling city outside its walls. These gardens are not just a place of beauty, they are a sanctuary for rare plants and sculptures, some of which date back to the Renaissance. Walking through these gardens is like stepping back in time, surrounded by the same flora and art that popes and cardinals have enjoyed for centuries. Once off limits, now you can take a guided tour. These tours offer a rare glimpse into a world that was once reserved for the highest echelons of the Church. And surprise! There's more to the Vatican than meets the eye. The Vatican has an observatory, a place where science and faith intersect. This observatory has been studying the cosmos for centuries. The Vatican Observatory is one of the oldest astronomical research institutions in the world, blending the pursuit of scientific knowledge with spiritual reflection. The observatory's work has led to significant discoveries, and its researchers continue to explore the mysteries of the universe. The Vatican's art collection is legendary, featuring masterpieces by some of the greatest artists in history: Michelangelo, Raphael, and more. The Vatican museums house an unparalleled collection of art, including the iconic Sistine Chapel ceiling and Raphael's stunning frescoes. But there's hidden art, pieces that are not on public display, reserved for the eyes of a select few. These hidden treasures add another layer of intrigue to the Vatican's already fascinating art collection. Think there are more secrets? The Vatican is a place where history, art, science, and spirituality converge, creating an endless source of fascination.